Okay, so welcome viewers. This is Francis, and we're here because my friend Tommy, who's a lot younger than me, asked me a few weeks ago whether I might be interested in somehow mentoring him in a way that he didn't really know how, but he really just explained to me that he didn't feel that there were any elders in his community that he felt particularly drawn to listening to. Sounds that's I hope no one's within that community is offended by that, but
but you are boring.
So I don't really don't think I've ever been asked, or not for a long time anyway, that and because I see a lot of gifts in Tommy, in that are there, and also in potential, because he's a young man and he's got a lot of years ahead. I immediately thought, okay, well maybe he can ask me some questions and we can sit down, I can film it so that anyone else that might be interested can view it. I use the word elder, and that makes I don't feel particularly comfortable when I hear that word, because it makes me sound old, which is obviously a very relative term. I'm 50, but then I was thinking, well, why would Tommy ask me, and what do I have? Why do I have anything different? Anything that's maybe specifically valuable to share. So I was reflecting on this a few minutes ago in preparation for Tommy coming, and I thought, well, I'm proud to say that I've almost never had a job in my life, even though I actually feel like I've worked my arse off, worked really, really hard and been exhausted, for periods of my life, and I don't feel like I've had it, like I haven't just been putting my feet up in my life and at all. I've done a lot, but that hasn't been confined to the monotony of office work. I've done a lot of different things. I've lived a very active and, I guess, exciting and varied life, and it's not often that I get a chance to reflect on that. Not that that's necessarily what we will be doing here. And so in a way, maybe I do have, I'm sure I have something to share. We all have something to share for certain people. I'm sure there are people of which, I have nothing valuable maybe to offer certain people. But maybe we all have something valuable to offer, each other. Anyway, I'll stop rambling, and I'm not sure how long this will last. As a viewer, you'll probably know, because it'll probably say how long this clip, if it ends up on YouTube, how long it'll last. And I think this will probably be a series of talks, if it goes well today. So over to you, Tommy.
Yeah, so firstly I would just like to say that my intention here is to get to know you, Francis, and also get to know you as in the part of you that is in me. And so really I feel like this is going to be a journey of self-discovery for me, and so hopefully whoever else is watching can learn about themselves as well.
Sounds good. Sounds good, yeah. you know, as a teacher in the world as well, I'm a real advocate of not planning too much. It's good to have a sort of a structure, I guess, when I teach, or certainly an intention, of course, and it's very useful to have experience. But we haven't really planned this, so we just see what comes.
Yeah. So I think the first question that I would like to ask you is, what does non-duality mean to you?
Wow, okay. What does non-duality mean to me? Okay, wow, we're going to the root. For the viewers, well, for everybody, I suppose, I was going to kind of, because I think you've been to some of my my meditation meetings where we discuss non-duality. So I was going to say some things about non-duality which maybe you already know, just that the viewers don't, or that some viewers don't. Even though I have done some non-duality videos, but which you can see on my YouTube channel. But to answer the question, what does non-duality mean to me? So it means getting to the root. It means discovering, searching, and to a certain extent discovering who I am. And we can make that very complex, the understanding of those words, who am I? Or we can really root down to the simplicity of that question, who am I? You know? And not just who am I, but who are you? I think it's quite an important question, isn't it? I mean, especially given suffering, you know, given that we suffer as humans, and that we spend vast amounts of energy, if not all of our days to a certain extent, trying to make a better life, i.e. trying to be happy, trying to lessen suffering or even get rid of it. It's why we seek joyful things. It's why we seek delicious food. It's why we want a nice relationship, a loving relationship. It's why we want to see a good movie. It's why we look forward to our holidays. It's why we try and seek a job that we love. Is to make ourselves happy and alleviate suffering. So who is it that is making themselves, that wants to make themselves happy and alleviate suffering? Who am I? Who is that person? Is an important question to ask, and most people don't ask that question because they assume that they just don't ask, basically. Yeah. So what is the assumption? If we don't ask who am I, what do we assume? We assume that we are a kind of collection of thoughts, a name, an age. Even though that age changes, the name usually stays the same. We are a gender, we are feelings, we are movement, we are sensation. I mean, where do you stop? We are kind of everything. Yeah, that's what we assume. But are we really that? You know, because all those things come and go. The age changes, it moves, the thoughts arise and they go. An age is really just something we say we are, you know? So that's more of an idea. But in actuality, you know, we have thoughts, we have sensations, we have feelings, we have perceptions. All of those come and go, they change, they come and go. But do we really experience ourselves coming and going with them? You know, as a thought comes, it goes. You know, as a feeling comes, it goes. But we don't go with the thought, you know? We are not we are, it's like we are the witnessing presence, right? Like really, we're the witnessing presence to all these. You know, we could say that what we are is present and aware. I think that's fair to say. We can explore with our own investigation, but I think what we are is present in this moment. What I am is present and aware. That seems to be what is in common with, you know, all moments of my experience. But what is it that's aware? You know, and this is where non-duality comes in. What is it that is aware of the cup? What is it that's aware of the screen? Is it a thought that's aware? Is it a feeling that's aware? Is it eyes that are aware? Is it a brain that's aware? It's awareness that's aware. Yeah? It's like if it was our brain that is aware of the mug, if awareness was, say, located in our brain, which is what we kind of assume in duality, that awareness is located.
Yeah.
If awareness was located in my brain, so it's my brain that is aware of the mug. What's aware of the brain? You know? What's then aware of the brain? So this is the investigation that we go on in my meditations, and the meditations that I experience with my teacher. My main teacher is Rupert Spira. So if it's awareness that's aware, then if we want to discover about consciousness, awareness, i.e. who we are, if we really want to ask ourselves, who is this one that is aware? You know, we go to awareness. We don't go to the brain. We don't use the scientific technique of going to the brain to try to locate consciousness, the source of awareness, which scientists have been trying to do for. They've never found awareness, the source of awareness in the brain.
Yeah.
You know, we've never found it in the eyes. You know, the actual source of awareness. You know, yet most people still assume that awareness is located, and so that therefore most people assume that they are separate from each other. If my awareness is separate from your awareness, right?
Yeah.
That's the modus operandi. But it's not our actual experience. Our actual experience of awareness. Yet thought tells us. But we know that thoughts sometimes tell us things that are wrong, that are not in line with reality. We often believe our thoughts, you know. That's the ego. The ego likes to believe its thoughts. The ego builds itself on a collection of beliefs, of thinking. But when we're exploring reality, like when we're actually exploring how things really are, sometimes it's good not to believe your thoughts. Sometimes it's good to just go, if I want to know about consciousness, this thing that I appear to be, this thing that I think I am, you know, this thing that is present, this consciousness, this aliveness, this presence. Some people call it presence, some people call it consciousness, some people call it love.
Yeah.
You know? If I want to explore that, I don't go to my thinking. I go to consciousness itself, that which is aware. Consciousness is aware, and I ask myself, do I have any proof that this consciousness is separate from your consciousness? And if we really investigate, we realize, no, it's just one consciousness, one awareness.
Yeah.
You know, one reality, not two, not duality, but non-dualities, not two. You can't really say one, because one would denote that there's something outside of one,
Sure.
you know? So therefore, that's why it's called non-duality. In traditional language, it's called advaita, non, not two, I think it means, more or less. So the implications, the experiential implications of this investigation into the nature of the I, and the realization, the experiential realization that what I am, what I really am, when I let go of the belief that I am all the things that come and go, what I really am is the same as what you really are.
Mm-hmm.
When that realization begins to arise through the actual investigation, not through just buying it, not through going, oh yeah, I believe that, you know, that does nothing, that doesn't change the body-mind, that doesn't change one's life. That just means you subscribe to a new thing, you know.
Yeah.
Real non-duality is not dogmatic. It doesn't find itself in groups of people, and but anyway, the subsequent experiential changes that happen if we really recognize that we are not separate from anything are well, they're subtle, but they're also profound.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, they're enormous and they screw you up. Some people that, you know, sometimes that the sudden realization, oh my God, I'm not separate, can be a mess, can mess up the thinking process, can mess up the feelings, can really discombobulate the system. And this can be what happens when one studies a teacher who is not particularly skilled in explaining, there's a lot of people out there on YouTube, there's a lot of so-called teachers out there on YouTube who have recognized that they are not separate beings, that there is not a separate entity in operation.
Yeah.
You know, that recognition has happened, and it wants to be shared. Yet, it in the sharing of it, there is not a very high level of skill in how the words spoken may be integrated by people.
Yeah.
It can be unhelpful for certain people.
Because it is quite a challenge, and I've certainly experienced it myself. You know, when you realise that what you are is more than this, it's quite harrowing in a way, because you have to let go of a lot of things that you've been holding on to. And what I want to ask you is, when you have those moments and when you're afraid of letting go, how do you do it, and how do you integrate it? Like you're saying, how do you integrate this knowledge?
So here's the amazing thing, is that you don't have to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know? You just have to keep asking yourself, who is the doer? Because if you keep asking yourself, who is the doer, not from the mind, because it can go into this mental gymnastics, like, no, this isn't about mental gymnastics. This is about like taking a microscope to, like, as if you're studying something. Like I've heard my teacher say, like, as if you're studying a butterfly wing and you're fascinated by a butterfly wing. It's like you become really fascinated by the genuine inquiry of who is the doer, you know? And if you keep asking this, then what happens is there's an undoing of the sense of separation. There's a natural undoing of the sense of separation, and there appear to be kind of gaps in one's experience. I don't really know what I mean by that. That's just words that came. It's like experience becomes more hollowed out. There is, because naturally, if the body-mind system, let's say, is no longer operating continuously on this assumption that its consciousness is located and separate, and therefore the feelings and thoughts are almost owned. You know how people feel like, that's my anger and no, it's just, that's the ego that does that. It's like a shooting star. It doesn't go right. If it shoots across the sky, it doesn't. Did you see what I did? Did you see? I shot across the sky. It doesn't have this it doesn't self-refer. But humans, self-refer. And in the self-referring, there is this belief that it is separate. And that's actually not an accident, but we can come onto that later if we want to discuss it. That's not really an accident. Of course, when a baby grows into a toddler, it's very healthy that it says, I am not my mother, I am not that mug, it goes through a process of what could be called neti, not this, not that. And that develops, so that child develops a sense of self that is separate. That is important. Yet, what is also important is that at a certain age, a certain point in one's development, and we don't generally have this in our society, or I don't really know if there have been societies that have ever had this. I'm not wildly interested, actually. I'm really just much more interested in the here and the now, and but there is a stage of development that hopefully does arise in people when something happens it's happening for you really young, but you're lucky, but something happens. Often it doesn't happen at all in one's life, but often sometimes it's a crisis of, how can I get rid of this suffering? Like, what's life really about? What's really going on here? And so the teachings, the non-duality teachings, the Advaita teachings that I've been following really deeply for a few years now, they are answering this question, but in a specific way of who am I? On whose behalf does this suffering take place? On whose behalf does experience occur? And we inquire and we find that there's no separate entity. If we really look for the I, we say I don't know how many times a day. We say I so many times in every day. But how many times do we look for that I? Imagine if in schools they were invited to look for the I. Maybe it would be destabilizing actually in schools. Actually maybe it would be, because there's like I said, it's very important this is, if you like, post-egoic work. Yeah? The ego is not an accident. The ego, in fact, this work most efficiently takes place once there is a healthy ego. Once the ego is healthy, once there is a healthy sense of identity. And perhaps that's why most people who come across, who dive into these teachings, have gone the more dualistic route for some years, i.e. meditating through, in the subject-object realm, chanting, maybe using a mantra, or maybe using the breath, or maybe in Vipassana, using the sensations of the body, you know, but actually doing something, you know?
Yeah.
In this technique, we don't, it's not about what you do. So to answer your question, it's not about what you do. It's like, it's really about asking who is doing it.
Yeah.
So when you're wanting to like somehow do something that make a change in your life that will allow your life to be more, are you talking about like making a change in your life that allows your life to be more in harmony with your understanding that you are unified?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just comes naturally through what we call self-inquiry, you know? And also, if we have a big aspect of our life that is in our judgment not somehow in harmony. So let's say there was an area of our life and we just are not acting, we are not able to act in harmony with this understanding. You know, then I guess I can't think of an example, but then I guess it's fair to say, you know, we make changes. We all make changes in our life anyway, you know. Of course we all make changes. But I don't think it doesn't sound like you have to do anything specific. I mean, the fact that you're coming to ask me about these matters, you know, suggests that you are not necessarily locked into a life that denies you the ability to deepen your understanding of who you really are.
I guess the struggle sometimes is, I suppose what it comes down to is fearing death and, you know, experiencing that in a way your death has already happened and who you are or who you think you are already doesn't really exist, you know? Yeah. And so I think it's that which can be quite scary.
Definitely. It's very natural for fear to arise in these teachings. It's very, very natural. It's very unnatural for fear not to arise. Because there has been every year, every day, every moment of our life, that is this development of a sense of self.
Yeah.
And as we learn, as this body and this mind and this heart learns more and more each day through each different, you know, relationship we have, friendship we learn different ways of operating in the world, and this in a way gives more richness to the sense of self. So when we are invited to explore who this sense of self really is, and actually literally, you know, bring the attention down in to look, and when we don't find a particular something there, all we see is just moving energy, things that come and go, right? There is a natural fear, a very, very natural fear that arises, and it is the fear of death.
Yeah.
It is the fear of death. And that's entirely natural, and you can ask yourself, who on whose behalf is this fear arising? It's very important not to bypass the fear.
Yeah.
Not to just go up into your head. It's very easy in non-duality to go up into your head and go, well, I'm not really here, so, you know, so I'm not going to listen to that fear. That's not an integrated path. In a way, it's Tantra. True Tantra is listening to the fear. It like you could say that the Vedantic path is the inward facing path where we come to the experiential realization that not only that we are not what comes and goes, but that we are this non-dual, is unable to, we can't put it into words because it's not an object.
Mm-hmm.
Objects are all made of it. It's consciousness, it's awareness. We can't say what it is because words and thoughts can only operate in subject objects, so we can't actually name it. It's like the Tao can't be named.
Yeah.
You know, God can't really be named. The Tao can't be named, but we can point to it with, you know, we can point to it. Yeah, I've lost my thread, but what were you asking?
I was asking pretty much, how do you deal with that fear of death?
Yeah, the fear of death. So it's very important not to bypass the fear of death, and because the sensations are there. It's like consciousness is open, is wide open to whatever happens. So the sensations appear of fear, and allow them, and allow that to be the integration, the investigation. This is now the tantric path. The Vedantic path is recognizing that we are non-duality, that we are pure consciousness. Mm-hmm. But then that's the inward-facing path. And that's more the meditation, if there is a sort of meditation path. Mm-hmm. Then the tantric path is coming out into the world, or into the world of sensations, and really allowing the sensations. And really there has to be a Vedanta and a Tantra together, to have an integrated awakening, if you like. And the Tantric path, it never ends, because there always may be sensations, thoughts that's almost suck the system back into a sense of contraction and separation again. Mm-hmm. Because there's been years and years and years of believing ourselves to be separate. That's not a bad thing. That's just what happens in this mad mystery called life. And then there is this kind of awakening process, that this waking up to who we really are process. And so the sensations of, when we investigate those sensations of fear, just understand them. It's good to study, really think, contemplate, what are these? But also really allow them and inquire on whose behalf is this fear happening? Yeah. Because who we really are doesn't die. Awareness doesn't have any endings or beginnings. We can look for them. We can bring this into our experience. We can go, okay, if I go to the presence of awareness, if I ask myself, am I aware? Really, unless I'm tricking myself, I have to answer yes. Yeah. If I was going to ask anyone, if I ask you, are you aware? Yeah. You are. So where do you go to answer that question? Yes. Where do you go? What experience do you go to? I assume you're going to an experience in order to, if it's a genuine yes, you're going to a certain experience in order to answer yes, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a certain experience, but really just all experience makes me think yes,
But what about the here and the now? Rather than referring to anything in the past, what about the here and the now? If I ask you, are you aware?
Yeah, so right now I guess it's like I can see things, and I can smell things, and I can hear things, and I can feel things.
Mm-hmm. Those are the things that you're aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what about, like, when I ask you, are you aware? If I ask you now again, are you aware? And genuinely answer the question.
I don't know.
You don't know if you're aware? It's not a trick question.
I think I am.
You think you are. So what makes you think, what about, so you don't know, you might be unsure?
Yeah.
we can't find awareness with our mind. But if I ask you, are you aware? Genuinely, are you aware? You could go to, okay, let's say you go to the things. Well, I'm aware of the chairs over there. I'm aware of the window. I'm aware of the screen. So therefore, I must be aware. Okay, because that's really what you were saying, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so if that's the case, what is it that is aware of this, of the things of your experience right now? What is it that's aware? Because something is aware, right?
Awareness.
Awareness. And yeah, awareness. So this is and what can you say about this awareness? What can you say about it that really rings true?
It's behind everything, and
is it even behind everything? Because that would assume that it's located.
It just is everything, you know, and everything that we are aware of is awareness.
Because something that what we are aware of, let's say you are aware of this mug, can you, awareness, actually find a separation between the mug and the awareness?
No. And the only way that I can experience the mug is with my eyes or with my hands. And so I can't actually experience the mug separate to me. It can only happen in my body.
Say that again? You can't experience, right, I see. You can't experience the mug as separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I can only experience it in my eyes or with my hands.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. 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 So going back to the fear of death, what really dies? You know, what dies? What really dies? Is this sense of self that dies?
Mm-hmm.
Is this ephemeral sense of self? And can we find the sense of self? The sense of self? No. Well, I can't find my sense of self. I can't find it in a particular place.
Yeah.
And it's like the sense of self. I've heard it described as the ghost in the machine. You know? And it's like the clown that jumps up on the stage at the end of the play and takes all the applause. You know? Like life happens and then there's this sense of self that I did that.
Yeah.
You know, I lived this life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That sense of self is just made of the same stuff that the stars are made. It's consciousness dancing. It's consciousness. It's this cosmic dance, and it's not about throwing away this sense of self. It's about inquiring as to what it's made of. Mm-hmm. It's not about going, oh, I don't want an ego, I need to chuck that away. We ask, what is the ego made of? What is this sense of self? You know? It's like when there is a recognition of, you know, when there is this recognition that comes generally usually I think it comes, you don't notice it. The mind doesn't really register the recognition, you know, because it's more an undoing. Nothing is gained. In awakening, nothing is gained. Mm-hmm. It's just this, it's a recognition. So there's an undoing. And with that, there is a natural change in behaviors. the importance of going, that is of the sort of traditional teachings that really in particular give importance, or certain sets of teaching, to the tantric path. That's so important because it needs to be integrated in this body, you know? This body and these actions and these behaviors. Otherwise, it's like it's not really an awakening. It's the ego's still in there, you know. The sense of self is hiding in the body. It hides, you know. And but it's an amazing kind of journey and exploration. Yeah. Just have a little chocolate.
Thank you. So, do you remember the first time you asked the question, who am I?
No. I don't remember the first time, but I remember it was the dance. It was dancing that really got me interested in this.
Okay.
I was lucky enough to have a teacher for several years, Gabrielle Roth. And it was really when I was dancing with other teachers prior to her, but I felt like my journey before I met her was still really just, it wasn't so much about the non-dual. It was only when I started dancing with Gabrielle that it was like we used to say we dance in order to re-identify ourselves as the dance rather than the dancer. Rather than the one who dances, we are the dance, the whole cosmic dance, because when you're in a group and it's facilitated really well, the whole thing about the dance is you come down from your thinking mind. The thinking mind is the place that we operate on separation. But when we come into the moving body and that is facilitated for a while, you know, maybe you've been dancing a while and everybody is in the dance, you know, we're in the zone. And it's incredible. It's like the dance is, you're being danced. Yeah. It's like it's not just the dance, you know, in martial arts, in Qigong, it's I think, or Tai Chi, it's the same. It's like you move the energy until the energy moves you.
Yeah.
And when the energy moves you, it's like you are being danced. We are being breathed. I mean, if there's no one, is that really someone in there doing the breathing? Like some guy inside going, I'm breathing for you. It's ridiculous. No, breathing is just happening. The heart is beating. This incredible, you know, amazing in-depth kind of communication system of the body is all happening, you know, like it's happening. The thoughts are thinking, right? The life is being lived.
Yeah.
Until it isn't, and then another life is lived, and then this is all being done. So I remember, you know, having some pretty wacky kind of insights into this kind of thing that really sort of blew me away, you know, when I was younger. Like they didn't really come from really searching in, like, to who am I, but they came through just like pondering, wow, like what is life? I mean, it's extraordinary, isn't it? You know, the fact that we're even alive, let alone who really is it that's alive, the fact that we are alive, and what are the chances, you know? What are the chances? Like whoever, you know, the fact that, you know, a man and a woman came together to create you, but what if they didn't come together at that particular moment? What if they'd have waited 10 seconds before, you know, reproduce it? Or, you know, then would it have been someone else? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All these kinds of questions, you know, these are really wonderful questions, I think. So I never really, I don't remember the first moment, but I do, yeah, the dance, and then I saw a video of a guy who is quite well known, Jeff Foster. I think a friend maybe showed me this video, or and it's him just laughing. He's sitting with someone who's supposed to be asking him questions, and he just falls into laughter and laughs and laughs, and it's so funny. It's like, and the laughter is coming from the recognition. You could tell, it's like, that's an incredible transmission. It's like the laughter is coming from this sense that he doesn't really exist as he thought he did, you know? It's like, and it can create, it can create fear of death, but it can also create incredible laughter. And this is why you know, I'm sure this is why, like, the Tibetans like laugh. I've been spending a bit of time with the Tibetan Lama. You know, this Lama who's been going to the Lama, the Rinpoche. And I spent was lucky enough to spend a bit of time with him this summer, and his laughter is just incredible. It's just like, it's not coming from a place where most people's laughter comes from. It's coming from this, it's like coming from the Tao, and, you know, because it's funny, you know, when one realizes, because all seriousness drops away. Like Osho said, seriousness is a disease, you know. So I saw this guy, Jeff Foster, just laugh, and then I started listening to him, becoming interested, went on one of his retreats, and then came back, heard about, a friend told me about Rupert Spira, and anyway, all kinds of interesting things happened, but I don't remember the first time I actually asked, who am I? But I certainly had a phase where I did it a lot. But it's good to ask it in different ways, because otherwise the mind can otherwise we can sort of fall into a trap of monotony. Yeah. You know, we're not supposed to kind of, some people believed when Ramana Maharshi, who popularized these teachings in the West, when Ramana Maharshi, you know, would say, you know, who am I? This is the mantra that you should use. Some people believe that you should just repeatedly ask yourself that, almost like a mantra, and something would happen. No. And my teacher Rupert has really changed who am I to, because he's recognized that in our modern day, very heady kind of culture, who am I can be a bit of a confusing question to ask ourselves, and it can be a bit of we can get into mental loops. So he's reframed the question, you know, if you want a question, he's reframed it to, am I aware? Or if you're guiding someone else, are you aware? You know, but am I aware? Am I aware? Rather than who am I? Am I aware? Yeah. We can rewind to 20 minutes ago, you know, that one. Am I aware? No. You could go, I'm aware of, but no. The question is not, what am I aware of? Yeah. That would be a very different question. I'm aware of that, I'm aware of that, I'm aware of that. I mean, we could do that. That's not going to change anything, is it? The question is, am I aware? Not what am I aware of, but am I aware? Yes. And then where do I go to answer that question? Yes. It's closer than our breath. It's like closer than the tip of your nose. It's so close that we miss it. You know? And I like to, because maybe I've got quite a kind of, you could say male mind, or like, left-brained, is it? The more linear. I like to use the tool of this, that everything in the world is objects, right? Thoughts, I'm saying objects meaning thoughts, sensations, the breath, perceptions, it's all in objective reality. But there's one thing, and it's not really a thing, because if it was a thing it would be an object, but there's one thing that is not an object. You know? It's like the on your computer there's all these words, but what's in the background? You know? Or it's like a movie. Let's say there's a movie and there's all these characters in the movie and there's a big drama taking place. And these characters, when you really look at it, are made of the screen. You know? And in spiritual circles, they're all going around, the movie is a bunch of people going around looking for the screen. But they can't find it because they're made of it. That's why, you know, you laugh when you suddenly realise, oh my God, this is like the absurdity of seeking what you already are. You know? Yeah. And the screen is an all. The screen is self-aware. It's aware of itself. Yeah.
So, why do you think that in the human experience that is so easily forgotten?
Why in the human experience is that easily forgotten? Because hope it's not too noisy for the viewers. Someone's mowing the lawn out there. Why is it easily forgotten? Well, it's interesting that you use the word forgotten, because you know, which would imply that there is some understanding of this at some point in one's life, and it is. It's just not a cognitive understanding. But children all have this, you know, understanding to a certain extent, that they are not actually separate, that they don't have a separate sense of, or at least there are things in life that as it's almost as if they cut through the sense of separation, you know. Love is one pretty obvious, if we think about it, pretty obvious example. Like love, you can't measure it.
Yeah.
I mean, scientists probably try, but you can't measure love. Like really, you can pretend love is something else and like measure it, the hormones, but we really know that when you love someone, like it's not measurable. What is happening is the sense of separation from you and that person, or in terms of beauty is an object. The sense of separation for those beautiful flowers, the sense of separation between me and those flowers dissolves, right? And there is a recognition of unity. So love is really the recognition of our true unity. Yeah. But we don't investigate what is really going on. And the reason why I love these non-duality teachings is because it gives you a chance to investigate what's really going on there. And therefore it can, you know, if we really do it, it brings more love and into our life, you know, which is an amazing thing. And you know, and life seems to respond very well. Things come into your world that are harmonious with this with this recognition of unity. Your life becomes more beautiful, definitely. So, is it really forgotten? I don't know if it's forgotten so much as we just don't, there aren't enough, maybe there are enough, maybe it's just the perfect amount, but that there aren't, there have been lots of people talking about this process, but not many in history, at least popular ones in history, ones that have kind of spread their teachings. There haven't been many that have really explained it, I think, to the Western mind.
Yeah.
What's really going on, the big questions, and luckily I found one. Rupert Spira is absolutely brilliant at, but every teacher, sometimes we're drawn to, some people like tea, some people like coffee, it's there might be a great teacher but it's all subjective, there are some which really touch a lot of people, and some people, their presence, maybe Ramana Maharshi was one of them, but the danger of that is if they don't talk very much, which Ramana didn't, I think. If they don't talk very much, then the Western mind just like projects. It goes, I want to be like them, and you just objectify even more. So you get these gurus, and then you get the crowds of people going, because something is recognized. So there is a recognition, but if there aren't teachings that are explained to the Western mind, maybe in India, that guru was that guru. It was sort of maybe the language of non-duality that I'm trying to sort of explain is more embedded in the Indian culture. So therefore, if you are, say, looking at a guru, maybe it's just understood that guru is simply a reminder of, the fact that we are one. There is a unified field, and we are not separate. And but in the West, you get these gurus, and that's why you can get these gurus, and it can look like a bit of a questionable. What's going on here? I'm not sure. I like to look at this, crowds and crowds of people just like, they're amazing. I want what you are, give it to me, as if you can be given what you already are. It's a recognition. This is called the path of recognition. I heard once someone, I've only heard this once, but they said, there was a friend of mine, he said, the intelligent path, which I quite liked, because in many spiritual circles, you're not really encouraged to use your mind. But in these teachings, you're really encouraged to use your mind. Not to look for who you really are, but certainly to contemplate these matters. When it comes to the asking, who am I? You don't answer with your mind, you go to your actual experience. So this has to be experiential too, but we don't leave the mind aside.
Yeah, we were given it for a reason, right?
Yeah, it's purely magical. Imagine if you were like a alien from another planet came down and you had no idea about the human mind, and you looked at it without any judgments or any kind of like experience of what it can be like to be inside a tortured mind, but just looking at it from the outside, it's like, oh my God, this thing's amazing. It can think seems to be able to think 1,000 thoughts a second, and not only that, it can think of something and then it can manifest it. It can think of like a building, and then the next thing you know, someone's building that building, and then the next thing you know, some people are living in it, and they've all got minds. It's pretty phenomenally unbelievable, the mind. The idea that we would want to shut it off is bonkers. I think that idea comes from the fact that when there is a recognition, the mind does vroom. There are thoughts, but the thoughts don't identify. The thoughts aren't thoughts that contain this sense of separation. You know?
Yeah.
The thoughts just happen. And they're no longer a problem. You know? And then you realise, oh my God, they weren't a problem in the first place. I just thought they were a problem. There was just a thought there, thinking they're a problem. But that's just another thought. It's like getting these mental loops. You know? So 1 hour. Wow, I hope you're still with us. Do you want to ask anything else?
I feel good about the conversation that we've had today. I think it's a good place to finish off. I think we've covered a lot of ground. And
gone in at the deep end, huh?
Yeah.
It's my favourite subject of all.
Yeah. And so yeah, I think we should just leave it there and let people kind of sit with that for a little while and
yeah. Yeah, it's good. I like your interest in it. It does, you know, these teachings do require, they're easy to bypass. You know, I find them quite easy to, of course, life has a lot of demands. Well, my life has quite a lot of demands. And it's an amazing, wonderful life, but it's, I find it so deeply nourishing to have these conversations, to be in a space where we're contemplating, where we're genuinely contemplating these matters. And the more of these spaces can become available, certainly for me, it's, you know, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I absolutely love it. And, you know, I really have a dream that these contemplations and conversations can become more regular in my life, because there isn't a point at which, you know, eternal bliss, eternal happiness it's not a point. There is a gradual undoing, and there are stages, you know, at which there may be stages of, wow, God, I just have not felt I have suffered on any level, psychological, physical, like, and maybe there's been physical discomfort, but I've not had any psychological suffering for some time now, and there are other stages where the drama of life takes hold more, and yeah, I just really find that these teachings have really allowed, these teachings have breathed fresh air into my life.
Yeah.
And yeah, I still have shit days, but I wonder in comparison, you know, how shit they really are, yeah, in comparison, how much love and appreciation and yeah, just general happiness is generally in my life. There are phases, but I do know that for me, the more of these conversations I have, the happier I am. There seems to be, it's almost like there's a voice that's not mine inside me that goes, thank you, you know, thank you for honoring me, you know, and there's that voice creates a real breath and release in my body, and I'm very excited about these teachings and where I, how I can bring them more into my life through movement and breath and just coming together and chatting like we've had. So I thank you, Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And,
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. Yeah. Blessings.